6391. What limitation is on a newly certificated commercial airplane pilot that person does not hold an instrument pilot rating? A. The carrying of passengers for hire on cross-country flights of more than 50 nm or at night is prohibited. B. The carrying of passengers for hire on cross. C. The carrying of passengers or property for hire on cross-country flights is limited to 50 nm and the carrying of passengers for hire at night is prohibited. The correct answer is A. A newly certificated commercial airplane pilot who does not hold an instrument pilot rating is prohibited from carrying passengers for hire on cross-country flights of more than 50 nm or at night. When a pilot obtains a commercial airplane pilot certificate without an instrument pilot rating, there are certain limitations on their privileges. The correct answer is stating that carrying passengers for hire on cross-country flights of more than 50 nm or at night is prohibited for a newly certificated commercial airplane pilot without an instrument pilot rating. Without an instrument pilot rating, pilots are restricted in their ability to navigate and operate in certain weather conditions and airspace. As a result, they are limited in their privileges and cannot conduct certain types of flights that require instrument flight rules, IFR, or nighttime operations. This limitation is in place to ensure the safety of passengers and aligns with the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, regulations. By prohibiting the carrying of passengers for hire on cross-country flights of more than 50 nm or at night, it helps ensure that pilots without instrument pilot ratings do not operate in potentially challenging or adverse weather conditions where their lack of instrument training could pose risks. It's important for pilots to pursue additional training and obtain an instrument pilot rating if they wish to expand their privileges to include cross-country flights of longer distances or nighttime operations. In summary, a newly certificated commercial airplane pilot without an instrument pilot rating is prohibited from carrying passengers for hire on cross-country flights of more than 50 nm or at night. This limitation exists to prioritize safety and encourages pilots to pursue additional training to enhance their capabilities. 6319. A person whose flight instructor certificate has been suspended may not A. Give flight training, but may apply for a rating to be added to that certificate. B. Apply for any rating to be added to that certificate during the period of suspension. C. Apply for any flight instructor certificate for a period of 1 year after the date of the suspension. The correct answer is B. A person whose flight instructor certificate has been suspended may not apply for any rating to be added to that certificate during the period of suspension. When a flight instructor certificate is suspended, there are certain restrictions and limitations placed on the individual's privileges. The correct answer is stating that during the period of suspension, the person may not apply for any rating to be added to their flight instructor certificate. A suspension of the flight instructor certificate indicates that the individual has been temporarily prohibited from exercising their privileges as a flight instructor. During this period, they are not allowed to add any additional ratings or authorizations to their certificate. The purpose of this restriction is to ensure compliance with regulations, maintain safety standards, and address any concerns or issues related to the individual's ability to provide flight instruction. By preventing them from applying for additional ratings during the suspension, it reinforces the seriousness of the suspension and underscores the need to address any underlying concerns before resuming flight instruction activities. It's important to note that the specific duration of the suspension and any additional requirements or restrictions may vary depending on the circumstances and the regulatory authority involved. It is crucial for individuals with a suspended flight instructor certificate to adhere to the terms and conditions set forth in the suspension order and seek clarification or guidance from the appropriate aviation authorities. In summary, when a flight instructor certificate is suspended, the person is not permitted to apply for any rating to be added to that certificate during the period of suspension. This limitation aims to ensure compliance with regulations and address any concerns or issues related to the individual's ability to provide flight instruction effectively. 6322. What is the duration of flight instructor certificate? A. Indefinite, unless suspended revoked. B. 24 months after the month in it issued or renewed. C. Indefinite, as long as the holder has a current pilot and medical certificate appropriate to the pilot privileges being exercised. The correct answer is B. The duration of a flight instructor certificate is 24 months after the month in which it is issued or renewed. A flight instructor certificate has a specific duration during which it remains valid before it needs to be renewed. The correct answer is stating that the duration of a flight instructor certificate is 24 months after the month in which it is issued or renewed. After obtaining or renewing a flight instructor certificate, the certificate holder can exercise their privileges as a flight instructor for a period of 24 months. This duration is calculated from the month in which the certificate is issued or renewed. It's important to note that the 24-month validity period is subject to meeting certain requirements for renewal. To maintain an active flight instructor certificate beyond the initial 24-month period, the certificate holder must comply with regulatory requirements, such as demonstrating ongoing proficiency and meeting any recurrent training or evaluation requirements set forth by the relevant aviation authority. It's also worth mentioning that a flight instructor certificate remains valid indefinitely as long as the holder has a current pilot and medical certificate appropriate to the pilot privileges being exercised. However, the 24-month duration specifies the period within which the certificate needs to be renewed to maintain its validity. In summary, the duration of a flight instructor certificate is 24 months after the month in which it is issued or renewed. Certificate holders need to adhere to renewal requirements to keep their certificate valid beyond this period and ensure they meet the necessary criteria to exercise the privileges of a flight instructor. 6397. The type and date of each student pilot endorsement given shall be maintained by each flight instructor. For what period of time is this record required to be retained? A. 1 year. B. 2 years. C. 3 years. The correct answer is C. The record of type and date of each student pilot endorsement given by a flight instructor is required to be retained for a period of 3 years. Flight instructors are responsible for maintaining records of the endorsements they provide to student pilots. The correct answer is stating that these records must be retained for a period of 3 years. Endorsements are important documents that signify a student pilot's eligibility or authorization to perform certain activities or operations. They may include endorsements for solo flight, specific maneuvers, cross-country flights, or other training milestones. It is crucial for flight instructors to keep a record of the type of endorsement provided and the date it was issued. The requirement to retain these records for 3 years serves several purposes. It allows for proper documentation and reference, enabling the flight instructor to track and verify the endorsements they have issued. It also ensures compliance with regulatory requirements and provides a means of auditing and oversight by relevant aviation authorities. Flight instructors should maintain these records in a secure and organized manner, ensuring that they are readily accessible for review or examination if required. It is essential to follow applicable regulations and guidance regarding record-keeping and retention periods to uphold the integrity of flight training operations. In summary, flight instructors are required to retain records of the type and date of each student pilot endorsement given for a period of 3 years. This time frame allows for proper documentation, compliance with regulations, and oversight of flight training activities. 6399. During any 24 consecutive hours, an instructor is limited to how many hours of flight training? A. 8. B. 10. C. 12. The correct answer is A. During any 24 consecutive hours, an instructor is limited to a maximum of 8 hours of flight training. There are limitations on the number of hours of flight training that a flight instructor can conduct within a consecutive 24-hour period. The correct answer is, which states that the maximum allowed flight training hours for an instructor within a 24-hour period is 8 hours. This limitation ensures that flight instructors maintain appropriate levels of rest and avoid excessive fatigue, which can negatively impact their performance and safety during flight training sessions. By setting a reasonable maximum limit of 8 hours of flight training within a 24-hour period, it promotes safety and helps ensure that both the instructor and student maintain optimal levels of alertness and attentiveness. It's important for flight instructors to carefully manage their schedule and allocate sufficient time for rest and recuperation to avoid exceeding the maximum allowable flight training hours within a 24-hour period. Adhering to these limitations helps maintain a safe and effective learning environment for both the instructor and student. In summary, a flight instructor is limited to a maximum of 8 hours of flight training during any consecutive 24-hour period. This limitation is in place to promote safety, prevent excessive fatigue, and ensure that both the instructor and student can maintain optimal levels of performance during flight training sessions.